In September, President Donald Trump announced the end of the DACA program, which had protected 700,000 undocumented immigrants who would come to the United States as children from deportation. At a rally for these dreamers, I saw someone whose story made me think of my own story.
I was able to become an aerospace engineer this May from San Diego State.
So I decided to have a conversation with him.
My name is Irving Hernandez. I am 23 years old and I'm an aerospace engineer.
Thanks for joining me. I know this is kind of an interesting time for you. How would you describe the action that the president took?
It was unnerving. Throughout his campaign, he said that he understood us. He understood the DACA folk, as he put it. And yet, when you truly understand a subject and go against it, it doesn't make sense. And it was just chaotic. He kind of set everything on fire. We were kind of the more established group in the immigrant community. There's raw data that proves our contribution to society, and yet all of that was undermined.
I've seen statistics that if they do get rid of DACA and start deporting people like you, the economy is going to lose $50 billion a year, and the ripple effects throughout will be tremendous. Citizens are going to lose their jobs. How old were you when you came?
I was 6 years old, and that was October of 2000.
Right before 9/11.
Right before 9/11, I was with my classmates. Our teacher was terrified, and we were all trying to make sense of this, 6-year-olds in a classroom. And, that echoed through all of us. I learned patriotism and love for this country through my parents. They told me about the reason why we left Mexico and just the lack of opportunity there was there, and always be grateful to this country. And kind of that upbringing shaped how I participated later in high school. In high school, I was a drum major of my high school band for 2 years. I played in Veterans Day parades, really delving into the culture of the United States. I also played in Memorial Day services, honoring those who have fallen for freedom, for the American values. And I always respected these individuals and saw myself as part of this.
You've lived here for 17 years, since you were 6. That's pretty much all you know. Maybe you have a couple memories from before you came from Mexico, but beyond that this is home.
It's hard to remember exactly what happened and how, I came to this country. I remember missing my dad, and so to finally be able to see him again meant a lot. And we struggled immediately coming into the U.S. I encountered bullying for not knowing the language. Just a struggle overall. Going from elementary to middle school, I was kind of threatened to be pushed in special education classes to improve my English, and I guess that was enough motivation for me to kind of just get better. And when I went into middle school, that's when everything started to get better.
What do your parents do now?
Well, my mom's a stay-at-home mom. My sister's still going to high school. My dad is a construction worker.
I bet they're proud of you.
Yeah, there's kind of like a saying that my mom is the peacock. The peacock, puffs her feathers.
Oh, yeah.
And so, first and foremost, what mom can say their son is an aerospace engineer, and then furthermore, who can say that their son went and fought for this?
So I was born in Phoenix, Arizona. I grew up in San Diego, and I've always been really conscious of how different my life would have been if I was born 80 miles to the south. And so I can't imagine the challenges that you've gone through and sort of how terrifying this must be for you to grow up here. Everything you know is here, your roots are here, you're on a great path, you want to contribute to the country, you want to get a job, pay your taxes, you're an American as far as I'm concerned. How did this feel when this decision came down?
I've always been a very critical person, very analytical. I knew that if Donald Trump was elected, that DACA would be taken away.
Yeah.
That was just an absolute. It didn't hit me hard when he took it away. What hit me the hardest was I was actually studying in the library with my colleagues, my friends, before an exam, and all over the library, all you saw were the election results, kind of the map filling up red, and that was when it truly hit me. It's like it's actually gonna happen.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's actually going to happen, that people supported his ideology, regardless if they only supported parts of it. They were buying the whole package, and that package included anti-immigration proposals. And that's when I realized this country is going to change, and I have to be ready for it.
Tell me what DACA is.
It was a half measure to protect a part of the community that has already been rooted in the United States. And what it isn't is amnesty for undocumented immigrants. What DACA allowed us is to have a very temporary, as you've seen, protection against deportation, kind of saying we are not priority. Us children that came to the United States are not a priority for deportation, and that we should be given a temporary social security and a temporary work permit that you have to renew every 2 years in order to work legally in this country.
Did you think that the momentum was such that it was inevitable that your status would become permanent at some point?
Well, I always hoped that it would. Again, when I saw what this current president was about and that he had backing throughout the whole United States, it kind of put me in a very uncomfortable situation where, again, you kind of start thinking in a bubble. Well, I've gone through it, a couple of times. Everything's working out. I'm about to graduate, and then just realizing that there's a reality to it.
It had to feel like the contract that America sort of had with you, that was kind of broken.
I honestly did feel anger, pretty much, like, why are you doing this to me?
Right.
Do you want to deport me? Why do you want to cause this pain to myself and to my family? What more do you want from me? Like, have I not done enough? And gosh, it's just...
Irving's entire family lives with an uncertainty few of us can imagine. At any moment, they could be detained and expelled from the country they call home.
Up ahead, we kind of see this kind of commotion. I started seeing police cars and Border Patrol cars. And we were just going to the store within the U.S., not even close to the border. I told my mom, I think that's a checkpoint. She's like, really? It's like, yeah, I think it is. And I said, well, this is it. I'm happy that I'm there with my mom, and I'll get her through this. And so the street light turned green, and she just started praying, gripping the steering wheel very hard. And she started praying louder the closer we got, and it was just rows of police cars and Border Patrol agents. I tried turning up the radio, kind of like telling her it's going to be all right, and kind of putting up a show that if you were to look outside of the car, it was kind of like a mom arguing with her son. And at the time, we didn't have a license, we didn't have anything. And finally, when we got to the front, I looked up and I saw a police officer, and he waved at me, and I waved back, and then they set the last cone right behind us. And so we got out. And then the subsequent cars started getting checked. The true fear really set in my last semester here at San Diego State when this administration started rolling in measures that would pretty much mean that my parents could be deported a lot easier and without hesitation, and I could be going home and not ever seeing them. Kind of understanding the level of sacrifice that my parents did, the people they left behind. My grandmother from my dad's side of the family passed away while we were here, and she truly loved me. I never saw her. Our dream as a family was to just be there, seeing me walk across that stage. So the idea of not having my parents on that really, truly important day, a day we fought, was just broke me down. Again, I've always been a leader in my community. At the time, I was a project manager for my senior design group. We were designing a supersonic business jet with variable geometry capabilities, a task that, barely allowed me to go home and see my parents. And so I feel ashamed to say it, but I had to go at times to corners of a library and cry and truly just plead to God to give me the strength to keep going, to be strong, to see my parents in the eye and tell them that day was going to come of my graduation, and they were going to be there. We were going to be there as a family. And to look at my teammates in the eyes and tell them we're going to design one hell of an aircraft and get an A, and we're going to kickstart our careers. And God heard my prayer, and May 13th at 6 p.m. I walked that stage, and my parents were there. And now I'm in danger of deportation.
Irving recently traveled to Washington, D.C. with other activists to share his story with members of Congress. What was that like?
It was a whole new world. As an engineer, there's logic everywhere. Mm-hmm. Going to a politician's, domain, there is none. There's a bunch of falsehoods and ideologies that they breathe, live, and die for. We spoke to weak Republicans. They told us, we are with you. But let's wait what our party, has to say, what their orders are for us to move forward. Mm-hmm. Then with weak Democrats, they told us, we're with you. And we've already said we're with you. But let's not kid ourselves. If negotiations are needed, we're going to have to negotiate. And, that means militarizing the border. Then, you might have to take one for the team. And speak to Republicans. Convince them, not us. Then you have the strong Democrats, which are the ones that are fighting right next to us, alongside us, saying, pass a clean DREAM Act, or else we will be there and make it hard for you to do anything. You cannot negotiate with the future of these kids. Everyone, as far as we know, is behind us, behind the idea of protecting these people that came as children. But they're using us as a kind of token to implement more militarization. They don't even come to these areas. It's all ideas that got caught in their heads, and they're not seeing what truly is, how we contribute to our societies, that these aren't warring zones.
What do you say to the American who says, you broke the rules? Your parents knew what they were doing when they came, and if you get deported, that's just the way it is.
Well, first and foremost, why do you want to deport me? What have I truly done to you to deserve this? Researching, astrophysics, quantum physics, can you truly control where you're born? I define the U.S. as my community, as the people I hold dear to my heart. But it's hard to deny that the U.S. also represents all these other people. I would invite you to meet us, to truly get to know us, see how American we truly are.
What do you think is really behind this?
Well, it's the notion of scapegoating, to blame everything that has gone wrong in the United States on our community, the immigrant community.
After we moved our conversation into the shade, Irving told me his family had discussed what they'd do if his parents were ever deported.
It was the hardest talk I've ever had. Just sitting down and thinking, what are we gonna do? You know, family to us is sacred, and I'm at an age where I realize what my parents truly have done for myself, and that there will come a time, you know, not too far in the future, where I need to take care of them. And being divided, I can't. And so it was just hard for me, but what made it even harder was seeing my mom cry. Her fear for my life, her fear for my sister, who doesn't know Mexico.
She was 6 months old when you came.
And it was just hard to get through. And, you know, we're not even sure, to be quite honest. We've talked about possibilities, just how to get in contact with each other, but not really what's next.
Do you think there's a chance that if you went home and your parents had been deported, that you would go back to Mexico to be with them? I mean, you have your degree here now. That would be pretty powerful to take back to Mexico City or wherever they ended up. You could get a great job and, you know, pay taxes in Mexico. You'd be leaving everything you had here, but you'd be with your parents.
There's always that possibility. I would be leaving behind just friendships, brothers and sisters, not through blood, but through experience. And again, I cannot forget what my parents have done for me, and that I need to be there with them. But I cannot go without a fight. Any potential I have in making a difference, I must make it to the very end. It does haunt me to have that idea in mind. Sometimes I've been just sitting on my desk at home, at work, and then that idea hits me and it just breaks me down. It's just that anxiety. But we honestly can't think of what's next after defeat, because we're not defeated yet.
No, you're in the fight.
We're in the fight, and we need as many allies as we can get. There shouldn't be any sort of like moderate idea to this. If you truly think that we're as American as you are, then stand with us, fight for us, and truly get to know us.
The day after Trump's DACA announcement, Jeff Sessions came out and made that announcement. There was a rally down at Waterfront Park in San Diego, and I went down there and I saw you speak, and it was inspirational, it was moving, and it just struck me how brave you were to be speaking out, not only speaking in front of a crowd like that, but about something so personal, and putting yourself out there to take whatever consequences come with making a public stance like that. I just think that it's really worth saying and acknowledging that that's a very American thing too. Standing up for who you are, what you believe in, publicly protesting. How much hesitation was there in your mind to do that? Were you scared at all, or was it third time going through DACA, you knew you just had to speak out?
I took the decision to come out of the shadows when I submitted my initial application. I told immigration where I lived and, where they can find me. If they really wanted to go after me, they would have done so. Kind of the line of no return was when I submitted my initial application. All my leadership positions, I've always done one thing, and that's the right thing. At times you do it for a reason, at times you just do it because it's the right thing to do. And you can't let other people fight the fight for you. I worked for an immigration attorney for 4 years to pay for my education here at San Diego State, and just seeing the constant worry, seeing what people go through, both citizens and undocumented folk, seeing that, no matter where you're from, people find love. There is no borders between them. And it was just the right thing to do. We talked about what happens if my parents are deported. There are several other parents, of children that cannot fend for themselves. And I would stay to continue that fight. I may come across as a strong person, but I am weak. I have at times just been destroyed by what's been happening, and I rely on my God to just keep giving me the strength, and for my community to keep giving me that love and understanding and support.